3 came out, I think, a week ago at this point, and I have been thinking about this movie non-stop. Single-handedly, Sonic 3 is just better than Sonic 1 and 2, like movie-wise. Holy shit, from how exciting this movie was. I'm going to travel back in time to Sonic 2. So if you remember all the way back in my Sonic 2 video, I made a video talking about Jakks Specific. And within that Sonic plush line, I talked about how we were supposed to get a Sonic plushie that looked like this. And we ended up getting this plush instead, which I was like, I prefer this guy. What if I told you that that was never supposed to be by Jakks and was actually by a company called Regal? Or, yeah, Regal, Regional Theaters. That was supposed to be the company behind it. So, pretty much, the Sonic and Tails that you see here were cut and were never actually released for Sonic 2. So, yeah, this wasn't Jakks, surprisingly. The company that's well known for making the flathead style didn't make the flathead plushes, which honestly I'm so happy they did not go with that. I love this. I love the fact that they decided to give us a more neutral take on the Sonic movie plushies. And of course, Regal eventually did get their run back for Sonic 3. And I overpaid for these online. I should have fucking waited. I didn't think they would go online because I wasn't able to get the first Sonic that came out, which was the PCO group one, so I ended up just buying them online because I didn't have a Regal where I lived. And then I realized you can actually find these at any movie theater. Now, when I went to the movies, they actually were selling Jakks Specific plushies. So, I was pretty mad, but oh well. So anyway, away from the intro, this is mostly has to do with the PCO plushes. We're going to be comparing them to the Jakks Specific ones, since I think these two are the only real ones that should be compared anyway. So I'm going to put movie Sonic here in the popcorn bucket. Regal Sonic! Or I guess just Sonic for the movie. From the start, the tag on this guy is the exact same on all Sonic 3 merch. Every single piece of Sonic movie merch has this weird looking tag. I never talked about the tag on any of the Sonic movie merch before, but I really feel like they should have made the tag the Sonic Adventure 2 pose, where they're like, Sonic and Shadow are both crossing paths. That would look so much nicer than this, but you know, whatever, it's fine, I guess. Now, Regal Sonic follows that stupid tradition that a lot of plushes have been doing nowadays, and that's the three spike thing. Now, it's kind of funny how plushies are now trying to give Sonic 3 spikes, because I remember back when Sonic actually had 3 spikes back in the cartoons, and they always gave him more than just 3 spikes, even though they were flat. And my problem with this guy is simply the fact that I don't think movie Sonic really fits the 3 spike aesthetic compared to the other 3, but I feel like I'll talk about that a bit later. The eyes are completely embroidered, which I actually think is an interesting take. It's not bad, it is different. All the characters have completely embroidered eyes, and the eyes are nice. Sonic's mouth is embroidered, his nose is pretty decent. I will say Sonic does look a bit weird. Like, I don't know why, Sonic just looks a bit off. Blue embroidery around his eyes to show where his eyebrows are. Of course, his stomach is nice and fat for some reason. Mine has like a blue stain or... His ears are also curved and nicely sewn on. No printing so far. His shoes are printed, missing the little gold buckle on the top, but honestly, who cares? Here's the back of Sonic. His tail and all 3 of his little back spines are all just completely flat. Most things in the movie theater are expensive as shit anyway, so I don't really know what I was expecting. His hands don't have any detail, sadly, and a lot of dye. I don't know why there's so much dye on mine. I don't know if that's from the person I bought it from or they just come like this. But I do think the Jakks Specific Sonic does look better. And it doesn't just have to do with the fact that this guy only has 3 spikes. Even though movie Sonic is very well known for those 7 spikes, my problem with this one is simply the fact that when you compare Sonic to other characters in the set, like Knuckles and Tails, which I'll get to later, he does look very strange. You were a big fan of the flat spikes and were disappointed that they didn't do that for Jax. I don't know why the fuck you would think that, but if you were, at least you can now have the flat spiked all 3 hedgehogs with the flat spikes if you're a big fan of them, and he'll honestly blend in pretty well. Like, yeah, like Movie Sonic doesn't look as weird with the Regal plush. And if you even want a flat boom Sonic, here's the emoji guy. So here's all 4 of the primary Sonics with the 3 with the flat spike aesthetic. I'm kind of tired of this like gimmick for the plushies, but oh well. We'll nitpick about is that I do think when it comes to Sonic, this guy would have looked better if he just had an extra 2 spikes going off to the side. So even if they were flat, if he just had the spikes on the side of his head, this guy would still look good. I actually like how the spikes are on this plush. Like, yes, they're flat, but they're not completely flat. Like, they kind of go down like this. And I think it's a unique way. If you just had 2 more on the side, like, let's say the Jax-specific Classic Amy or Jax-specific Shadow, I could see this Sonic being pretty damn solid. Okay. And moving away from Sonic, we now have his best friend named Tails. Yup, Trails. And man, I was so excited for this plush, and this is the most accurate plush of movie Tails we got for a 9-inch plush. I feel like Toy Factories sort of look too much like his video game counterpart more than his game counterpart. And the same thing kind of goes for Jax. I feel like Jax Specific's Tails sort of resembles movie Tails, but when you really look at this guy, I'm not, you see what I mean why I say I think this guy looks so much better than the Jax one. Like, it's crazy because I think for Sonic it's up for a debate, but Tails, he does look better, but there are some negatives about this guy. Off with Tails, my main positive, the face. I think Tails has one of the best faces on all these characters. Mine is a bit derpy, but this is, in my opinion, one of the best plushies of a 9-inch movie Tails you can get your hands on. It's really nice. The ears are nicely put together, like I said, just like how they are on Sonic's. Now his bangs do sort of flop over, but they don't like completely go off to the side like as much as other Tails plushies. Yeah, I do think this could be better, but I think it's pretty neat. I like the detail on his face and the nose. Now his nose is flat, just like that guy back there, but they actually put more detail into his face. So it's not just flat, it actually sticks out a bit. And I really like how they did Tails' face. The embroidery on the nose and mouth is nicely put together. I think Tails is pretty good. Now, one crucial problem that every plush of Tails have is printing. It seems like almost every plush of movie Tails has some kind of cheap out. Besides the Build-A-Bear, weirdly enough, that's the only one that didn't bother to cheap out on him. Sadly, his stomach is printed where his chest fur is, and of course that also carries over to his tails. And I do like how he actually has his 2 tails, unlike on Jax where they try to combine them together. I mean, this doesn't look as weird. I'm just very nitpicky and very bitchy, but something with movie Tails that keeps bothering me every time they do it. I don't know why they bother to give Tails this detail, because it's one of the main reasons why they print it. The reason why I keep saying they don't have to is because movie Tails straight up just doesn't have this detail in the movie, or at least he doesn't have this detail on most of the promotional images. It's more so like something that his game counterpart has. His movie counterpart doesn't really have detail on his tails like that. It kind of just fades into, it's kind of like orange and then it fades into white. Which overall, even though the printing is here, it's not that noticeable compared to like how it is on Toy Factory. And it does look a lot better compared to what the hell is going on with Jax's. And the printing on the shoes are also, I think, better than Jax Specific's Movie 3 one. So even though I very much kind of just passed by on Tails, this guy is, in my opinion, better than the Jax one. I think Tails is significantly better than the Jax plush, and of course, comparing Sonic and Tails, height-wise, not bad. Pretty good, actually. You know, not bad. It's pretty good. I think Tails and Sonic make a great combo, actually. I think Tails is pretty good. I really like this plush. I really like this plush of Tails.
Disaster! Flames of disaster! Flames of disaster!
I actually think Knuckles is the best plush in this set, without a doubt. One of my favorite plushies to come out for movie Knuckles. Man, okay. Now starting off, just like on Sonic and Tails, his face, I'd say, is pretty good. Comparing this one to a lot of the faces of the movie Knuckles plushies in the past, this guy is pretty damn good, because movie Knucks does not have the best when it comes to the face. Especially like Jax, man. Like, especially on Jax. What? I'm not even gonna bother to explain what the fuck happened to that Knuckles. Sadly, his hands are just oven mitts, which is something I didn't bother to bring up for Tails, but his hands are actually slightly larger than Sonic and Tails's, which, even though they're not giant, I like the fact that they still kept the detail. His knuckles are still flat, which is a big disappointment. Nowhere as good as, let's say, Toy Factory's, but this is a movie theater plushie, so he wasn't going to be good. Now, Knuckles was not a part of that original batch. It was only just supposed to be Sonic and Tails. So Knuckles was introduced as a new character, and they put a lot of fucking effort into Knuckles. His eyes are also embroidered and stitched on, just like Sonic and Tails, and man, it is really nice. I love the embroidery eyes on Knuckles and Tails. Even Sonic, I think the eyes were embroidered nicely. And for Knuckles, it very much shows. He kept that grin. I love the grin on Knuckles. He doesn't have a middle mouth. This is the one plush of movie Knuckles that doesn't have a middle mouth. And thank God, because I am tired of it. Sadly, mine has a little red dot here. I don't know if that's from the seller or what. Oh well. But he does have very nice embroidery for the little chest emblem here. I like how it shines off of him. It is a nice touch, especially for like $15, even though I paid like damn near $120 for this shit. Really, height-wise, Knuckles and Sonic are the same height, so yeah, height-wise, it's decent. Sonic spikes still sort of make him a little bit taller, but I think that's mostly because of how Knuckles is. Another great detail are the shoes. The shoes are just simple printing. It's not that. The shoes are just printed. I think that all the movie Knuckleses do a decent job with the shoes, since Knuckles' shoes are honestly the easiest ones to make. Now, earlier in the video I talked about with Sonic was why I thought the 3 spikes were weird. And Knuckles really explains why I think it's weird. Now, if you compare him to, let's say, the Jax-specific classic Knuckles, he's sort of flat, but he does have all of his dreads, right? It's just not as detailed, sort of like how it is for Shadow and other characters. Movie Knuckles has all 7 dreads individually, even though I do think his dreads are on here pretty weirdly, and they could be better with the way they look, but I'm going to be completely upfront. This guy is leagues better than the Jax Knuckles. There's just no damn competition. Now, if you really wanted to be crazy, you could rip the arms off this guy and put him on this plush and make him a perfect Knuckles, or at least a better Knuckles, to be honest. Yeah, but this one's so much better, man. I love this Knuckles. His face also is sort of pointy. It does point out. He does got that chin to an extent. But from the front, you don't really notice that. And like I said, I'm very much a big fan of this Knuckles. And personally, I think Knuckles is my favorite plush of the set. Now, finally, getting to the point. Shadow. Shadow's been the main highlight of movie 3. He damn near was like the part of the movie. And how does movie Shadow compare? Why did they give him 3 spikes? Now look, I understand the 3 spike thing. It's like, bro, you're just bitching at this point. Shadow is one where I continue to say it. I'm actually kind of surprised how good Shadow looks. I was expecting to hate on Shadow because of the 3 spikes. Shadow is really good. He's actually better than Sonic, which is crazy. Now, comparing him to the Jax specific regular Shadow, this is what I mean by they easily could have just given him like 3 extra spikes on this side. And I think this guy would have looked fantastic if he just had a couple more. He doesn't have all of them. Yeah, it's flat, but I think it would have looked better than this. It just looks like someone grabbed a razor and just shaved half of his head. And I'm just not the biggest fan of that. The spike Shadow does have, the detail is at least pretty damn good. I do like Spike's look. They are curved nicely. They look pretty cool. And the top spike is even going down like it should. So there's that. The ears are consistently good on all of them. And I do like how they gave Shadow a more darker, more like peached color, or slightly more tanned compared to Sonic, which is a great touch. Another really nice detail on this Shadow is how funny this guy looks. Since this is before Shadow got traumatized, because he's actually smiling. Yeah, I've kept finding it so weird why this guy looks so strange, unlike the Toy Factory Shadow. This guy is happy. This is a happy Shadow. Which I was trying to figure out why this guy looked so strange, but he's smiling, he's having a good time, and honestly, I think this gives this plush a lot of props, because movie Shadow is always, like, Shadow in general is always grumpy. So this guy being happy is very funny, and if you're a fan, I'd definitely say pick him up just because he's a happy Shadow. Embroidery on Shadow is, ooh, it's good. The embroidery on Shadow is good. The eyes are just nice. The red outline on top, the black, all of it is just nice. Much as I don't like the 3 spikes, I can't be biased. I think this guy looks better than the Jax one, even though he has 3 spikes, which is crazy. Like in the face, like, yeah, this guy is definitely one of my favorite Shadows, but come on, just like, yeah, spikes are a bit more of a pinkish than they are red, but maybe I'm just colorblind, or at least comparing it to Knuckles in the back, it's not as red. Nicely put together. I really like how it is. Now, of course, I am very much biased. I do like the very fluffy look of the Jax one, but this one is just better. The embroidery going around it, and of course the stitching. I feel like this is just the right way to make Shadow's chest fur in general. And the shoes are pretty okay. It's fine. Sadly, they did not bother with the bottom, which is disappointing. The rings on Shadow, sadly, are not fully detailed. It is just the gold part, which, yeah, I guess that works. But stripes going across his arms and legs, and they go like all the way up his arms and legs too. Like, they really did a good job with the embroidery. Of course, the back of Shadow is completely flat. No extra detail here. If they just gave him the extra spikes, this guy would be perfect. But he's pretty damn good on his own. I think these plushes are overall solid, consistently. To be completely honest, I think Sonic is the worst plush of the set, which, saying that, because when you have them all here lined up, I just think Sonic looks the goofiest compared to all of them. I would say Shadow, but I feel like Shadow has a lot to him. Like, yeah, Shadow has a lot of charm. I don't know why. So I think Sonic might have to be the worst one of the set. And if I had to rank them all, I'd probably say Knuckles is my favorite, Shadow's in second, Tails is third, and then I'll probably say Sonic. So yes, I definitely recommend them. Some of my favorite pieces of movie Sonic plushes are here. I really like the Knuckles and Tails. I think Knuckles and Tails are my personal favorites. And Sonic and Shadow are just along for the ride.